If you're looking for the best basketball talk in the universe, you just found it. This is Deep Hoops, where fans are the host. Troy Ramel Royal and me, your point guard, Jehudi. We're talking basketball, all basketball, and nothing but basketball. This is Deep Hoops.
Hi, I'm the Minister.
And I'm Ra.
And this is Deep Hoops. It's a basketball show where we just talk about the game that we love. We're not experts, but we're fans, passionate fans, talking about the game that we love. Rob, what's going on, man?
How you feel?
I'm doing outstanding.
Good to see you.
And it's good to be on the Rewind Network.
Yes, it is.
Right here in the Mid-Atlantic states. So people in Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Delaware, they can find us on their Comcast network via Rewind Network. Exactly?
Yes, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Now, we're used to being on YouTube and Facebook, but you can tune in, and you probably just stumbled upon us, but you can tune in every Wednesday right here on this network at 11:30 p.m. But we want to get this thing started and talk about the game that we love. So we've been seeing a lot of lists out there, ESPN's list and the NBA Radio's list and this one's list and that one's list. And if we're the passionate fans, we want to have our own list, the Deep Hoops Top 25 Players list. So now my criteria and your criteria were a little different.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll let you explain your criteria as I explain my criteria and how I came up with my 25, and then we'll run through our list.
Sure.
So I was thinking, Durant would be at the top of my list, but he's not going to be playing this year. Now, if we went by last year, but we're not going to see it this year, I don't see how you're going to be able to see what he's going to be in this year. So I left out individuals that are destined to be out for the whole season, like John Wall. He's not on my list. Would he have made my list if he was playing? Yes. Kevin Durant would be at the top of my list, if not number one, maybe number two, if he were going to play next year. But I did include Klay Thompson, who's going to be out the first part of the year. But we do expect him back. So that's my criteria. Why don't you talk about yours?
Well, I'm going to go with whoever's on the NBA roster.
Okay.
Because they may just play.
Okay.
And the fact that they're on an NBA roster, I'm going with them. So, yes, my list will feature a Kevin Durant. It will feature a Klay Thompson.
Okay. So we know on your top 25, they're on your list, and they're not on my list. And I did name, like Klay, he is on my list. But let's go through it and let's have fun with this. And then we want to ask you to, chime in. Who are your top 25? At the end of the show, you're going to see how you can reach us via Facebook, via Instagram, via Twitter. So we want to hear from you. We want to know what your top 25 lists look like. Because once again, just like you, we're passionate fans talking about the game that we love. So Rob, why don't you go from 25 to 11?
Okay, so starting at 25 for me, it's going to be Devin Booker. 24, it's going to be Drew Holiday. 23, it's going to be Michael Conley Jr. 22 is going to be Karl Anthony Towns. 21 will be Donovan Mitchell. 20 is Rudy Gobert. 19 is CJ McCollum. 18 is Blake Griffin. 17, Bradley Beal. 16, Kemba Walker. 15, Jimmy Butler. 14, Klay Thompson. 13, Kyrie Irving. 12, the Jokic. 11, Russell Westbrook.
All right, we're going to chop it up in a minute, but I know you're going to disagree with my list. Starting with my first player, you said someone that I thought would have been in the top 10, and you had him in the 25 through 11. So let me go through mine. At 25, this is a controversial pick, but I believe that he is going to take off this season, and he's going to have a great one. From Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young. At number 24, you did influence me because I had someone on this list that I definitely want to scratch out. And I'm going to put Gobert in that spot that I had this other person that will never make my top 25. And I'm almost embarrassed. I don't want you to see it. Number 23 is Ben Simmons, who you didn't have on your list. And I know we were going to have a conversation about that because in the production meeting, we talked about that. At number 22, I have Jamal Murray. At 21, I have Donovan Mitchell. At 20, I have Devin Booker. At 19, I have CJ McCollum. At 18, I have Karl Anthony Towns. At 17, I have Blake Griffin. At 16, I have Klay Thompson. At 15, I have Kemba Walker. At 14, I have Bradley Beal. At 13, I have Jimmy Butler. At 12, I have Kyrie Irving. And at 11, I have Russell Westbrook. I think that's the only thing that we almost agreed upon. Russell Westbrook at 11.
Well, we also had Donovan Mitchell at 21.
And 21, okay.
Yes, so we had a couple of them equally.
Right.
But yes, we did differ a little bit.
But, I mean, you had some point guards as I'm looking up there. Drew Holiday, you had Mike Conley Jr. And I think he's going to look really great. And, you know, any omission is not saying that they're scrubs or that they're whack. There's no one in the NBA that's a scrub or whack. But I'm just saying, you know, you influenced me with Gobert. I'm so glad you went first.
Hey, Gobert may be the best defensive center out there.
Right.
And unfortunately, his offense is not as good as his defense, but that doesn't take away from him being a top 25 player. He's definitely a great defender, a great player, and I have him top 10.
Now, let's talk about quickly some omissions. I don't think, and I thought about him, you didn't have him anywhere, breathing on your list, Andre Drummond. When we look at a center, you talked about Gobert being a great defensive center. And, you know, Andre Drummond is not going to fool anyone as a great defensive center, but he's an all-around center. Why did you omit him from your list?
You know, Andre Drummond is almost like Devin Booker to a degree. Because Devin Booker plays in Phoenix and they don't get a chance to sniff the playoff, people forget how good he really is. And Drummond is kind of having that same kind of career down in Detroit. You know, and they're so overshadowed by the other teams in the East, like Boston, Philly, and so forth, that you forget about him. And, you know, he may be more offensive than Gobert.
Right.
And he could be just as defensive as Gobert, but he's not quite there.
Right, yeah.
But it's funny, if we need a center for the Olympic team, he may be the one.
He may be the one that we sent.
He may be the one that we sent.
Well, and let's jump right into this one, because I know that you were vehemently opposed to even having Ben Simmons sniff a top 25 list. Give me your reasons.
I think that, you know, Ben Simmons is a quality talent. He's a guy you may want on your team. But as a point guard, he barely cracks the top 10 of the point guards in today's game. And I think the opposite of Devin Booker, I think because his team has been in the playoffs, because his team kind of been in the media for the last several years, even when they weren't good because of the tanking, it just, a lot of attention has been focused on Philly. And it doesn't help when you're dating a Kardashian, too. So I'm not saying that Ben Simmons is not a great young talent. I just don't think he's top 25.
Jokic, you had in the 25 through 11.
Right.
At what, number 12?
Number 12.
Number 12. Jokic does everything. He's the central point of that team, along with Jamal. But, I mean, he's the central point of that team. Why do you have him so low?
I just need another year. I think this is a top 10 talent. Don't get me wrong. But I just need another year from him. It was tough to leave him out of the top 10, but I need another year.
Now, other than Ben Simmons, who I had on my list that I think you wanted to slap me and, get a new co-host when I put him on the list. But is there anyone else on my list that you want to slap me for?
Nah, I like your pick of Trae Young. It's just that I need another year. That's all. Same thing with Doncic. I don't have Doncic on my list because I need to see another year. Do I think in the future that both Doncic and Trae Young are going to be top 25 talents? Absolutely. But I just need another year from them.
What did you think about Jamal Murray? Did you have him? You didn't have him on your list, right?
He's in that next five. Jamal Murray is very talented, and he has killer. Jamal Murray is going to be the next wave. He may be taking the climb that Dame Lillard took. Sometimes you just got to wait your turn or just grow a little bit. But before we blink our eye, Jamal Murray is going to be a top 15 talent.
Now, a player that we both had in our 25 through 11, but we didn't have in our top 10, is a player that's in this region, the Mid-Atlantic region. We both had Bradley Beal. I think I had Bradley Beal at 14, and you had Bradley Beal at
17.
At 17. Well, especially with that 17. Why so low? And could he have been closer to the top 10 for you?
You know, Bradley Beal is a player that, those who know me, I'm a Knicks fan. That I argue with Knicks fans that we should have traded for. I think Bradley Beal is one of the top 2 guards in this league. Clearly top 5, possibly top 3, maybe top 4, worst case scenario. I believe 17 is where he belongs, but it doesn't mean he can't be higher. Mm-hmm. He is a very talented player. Bradley Beal can play for me any day. I'm actually hoping Miami trades for him.
Nice look. Okay. Did you mention Jimmy Butler?
Yes, I do have Jimmy Butler. I have Jimmy Butler at number 15. I think the world of Jimmy Butler. Wherever Jimmy Butler plays, teams are better. He's a guy that he can play ball. He can be a little bit of a loose cannon, but he can play ball. And he makes a difference wherever he goes. And I think he's going to make a difference in Miami. The only problem is that he needs a co-star.
But isn't he known as one of the top fourth quarter scorers?
He has that ability.
Yeah, I mean, the top scorers in the fourth quarter. I believe that is the case. All right, so let's get to our 10 to number 1.
Well, starting off for me at number 10 is Paul George. Then it's Dame Lillard, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, James Harden, LeBron James, Giannis, Steph, Kevin Durant is number 2, and Kawhi Leonard is number 1.
Well, of course, Kevin Durant is not on my list. Personal stuff aside, and you'll hear the personal stuff in a minute, Kevin Durant is without a doubt one of the best players in the NBA. But I couldn't have him in my top 10 or my top 25 because he's hurt. So at number 10, I have Paul George. At number 9, I have Damian Lillard. At number 8, I have Anthony Davis. At number 7, I have Jokic. At number 6, I have Embiid. At number 5, I have James Harden. At number 4, I have Steph Curry. At number 3, I have LeBron James. At number 2, I have the Greek Freak. And at number 1, we both agree. I think it's a consensus. It should be a unanimous, except for on the ESPNs. It's Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. So wait a minute. We both had Kawhi Leonard at number 1. Now, as I said, if I was able to vote on Durant, it would have been a debate for me between Kawhi or Durant. Why do you have Kawhi Leonard as number 1?
Right now, he's the prince of the league right now. I mean, he's a guy that willed his team to a championship. Maybe Golden State made the case they was wounded. But, I mean, he was wounded. And he just willed this team through the playoffs. He did it from all ways, from defending, shooting a three-point shot, his mid-range game. He just did it all. And more importantly, he did it as a silent leader because that whole Toronto Raptors team just fed off of his energy and his leadership. I have him as the game's best player right now.
You know, and once again, with the caveat, I don't even know what Durant is going to come back like.
Right.
And I don't think he's coming back until next season, the following season. So, but how would the narrative have changed if Durant were healthy throughout that whole playoff? And Kawhi went up against a healthy Durant and the Golden State Warriors. Would he still be the number 1 man in the league? If he didn't make that falling away shot, which he did, would the thought of Kawhi be a little different than it is?
You know, that's a great question and a great point. Kawhi Leonard, he blew me away. I didn't know his game was that well versatile. You know, when we seen him in San Antonio and they made those championship runs against Miami, he was playing with the big 3 over there, Ginobili, Parker, and also Tim Duncan.
Right.
And the game was somewhat easier for him at the time. But watching him in Toronto, where he is clearly the man, if they had to beat Golden State with Kevin Durant on the court, I would still have him number one. Had he lost to Golden State, maybe that could have changed. Kevin Durant probably would be number one player.
Yeah, I really think that if Durant had stayed healthy, but ifs.
Right.
The best ability is availability. So
Right.
we can't talk about that. But that's why I didn't want to put him in the top 25 because he's not available. And I understand he's on the roster. But yeah, Kawhi is a consensus. I'm wondering about, you have Steph, and I love Steph. And if you took Durant out and went by my criteria, then Kawhi would be number one, Steph would be number two. You have LeBron down at number 5. Why do you have LeBron so low?
I just think that some players have just elevated. And right now, I'm a little bit down on LeBron because he doesn't play both sides of the ball. I'm watching him, and he's literally not defending.
But then your number 2 person doesn't play both sides of the ball.
But my point is there's one thing where you try to play defense and can't play defense than just not playing defense. LeBron is not playing defense. He's not even giving effort. I would award the person who's giving maximum effort and just failing at it than the person who's not even attempting.
All right, but I mean, come on. Even James Harden, who played a little bit better, gave a little bit more of an attempt this past season, has never been mistaken for a defender. And I would say he puts about the same effort as LeBron puts up.
Well, I watched James Harden in the post. He plays good defense down in the box. Yeah, he does. You know, he gives effort. Again, I didn't see LeBron giving any effort on defense last season.
So that knocks him down to number 5.
Number 5.
Joel, once again, we talked about not having Jokic in there. You have Joel on, let's go you have 5, and then 6 is James Harden, 7 is Joel Embiid, 8 is Anthony Davis, 9 is Damian Lillard, and 10 is Paul George. We have 10 and 9 exactly the same.
Yeah,
and 8. Yeah. Those three are exactly the same. Talk to me about Joel Embiid. They say that he's lost some weight, that he's changed his diet, and he's dedicated, because the biggest knock on him, and this is in this mid-Atlantic area, is that he didn't take everything seriously.
Joel Embiid is very, very, very skilled and talented.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing that I saw from Joel Embiid is him crying on the court after he got knocked out the playoffs. A wake-up call can come in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily have to be an alarm going off, alarm clock waking you up. That might have been his alarm clock. And I think that he's going to come back better and stronger. And I think that you might see an MVP season from him coming up this year. I really think he's going to have one of those caliber seasons. And I have him ahead of Anthony Davis. I think that he's more talented than Anthony Davis.
I mean, 6 on one hand, a half dozen on the other. I mean, they both bring you a lot of different things, a lot of different skills. If you pick Joel, I'm not going to argue that. If you pick Anthony Davis, I'm not going to argue that. Giannis, what does he need to do to improve his game so that he can really compete against Kawhi? Because Kawhi basically shut him down.
Yeah, I just think that 2 things. Obviously, he needs to get some sort of consistent jump shot. Doesn't necessarily have to stretch out to the 3, but he just needs a consistent jump shot. And the other thing is that he just have to take his growth. He just have to grow. I mean, this is the deepest he went in the playoffs. Now he's got a taste of it. I think you're going to see a better Giannis, a better leader, and more polished Giannis, because now the light should not be too big for him. The stage shouldn't be too big for him. He should know how to perform in this area, because now it won't be his first time around. So, yeah, I think just a jump shot, a little bit more consistency, but I do think going further, within a year or two, we might have Giannis as the number one player in this game.
Wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility. I mean, and I was asking you, not as if I was debating you. I was asking you about Kawhi Leonard because we both have him at number one. I have him at number one. I mean, he plays both ends of the court. I mean, right now, he may be playing both ends of the court better than anyone in the NBA.
Yes, anybody in the game.
Right. So, I mean, what else do you ask for? Does he have to be the water boy? I mean, what else does he need to do? He's playing both ends of the court better than anyone.
And he could be on the verge becoming the first player to have 3 MVPs, championship MVPs, finals MVP.
Whoa, you get ahead of yourself there, Bucky. You get ahead of yourself there, Bucky.
Hey, listen. The Clippers at some point is going to get to the finals.
Okay, so you're not saying this season.
No, I'm not giving a timetable, but I'm just saying.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Yeah, in the Clippers uniform, if he remains there between 2 to 4 years, they will reach the finals at some point. Whether it's the first year, second year, third, fourth year, they get into the finals.
Kyrie Irving going to Brooklyn. You know, all the controversy with him leaving Boston. Wait a minute. Did you? Yeah, you had Kemba. Both in the top 25, Kemba and Kyrie. Talk to what Kemba's going to bring to Boston that Kyrie may not have bought, and what Kyrie is going to do to reestablish his dominance in the NBA, where right now people have they're not putting respect on his name.
I think that Kemba will have a different mindset going into Boston. I don't think he will go in there thinking it is his team. And because of that, I think that the ball will be shared among Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and maybe even Gordon Hayward for that matter. I think that Kyrie is the overall better talent than the two, but I think Kyrie had a little bit of, this is my team. Mm-hmm. You know, and because of that, I don't think it necessarily got the best of Tatum and Brown. I think that we'll see a better Tatum and Brown with Kemba this year. Now, Kyrie going to Brooklyn, he has to be very careful because he doesn't want to go to Brooklyn and bring that same kind of attitude like, well, I'm the best player. This is going to be my team until Kevin Durant come back. This is a team that really essentially is bringing back everybody except for D'Angelo Russell and plugging you in. Kind of sort of like what happened in Boston. You know, you take away Isaiah Thomas and plugging you in. So the thing is that he has to be very careful with that. There's no arguing about his talent, his elite, but he has to allow everyone to play with him.
We talked about Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal. Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin is still a top 20 player in this league to me. Injuries has cut him short. I give him a lot of credit for trying to play hurt during the playoffs last year. But Blake could play for me anytime.
Any day. And he could play for me. And I think we're going to be talking about in our next 2 shows, the next week's show is going to be about the top 8 playoff teams in the East. And then the following week, we're going to talk about the top West teams in the playoffs. Just a sneak preview. I know I have Detroit going to the playoffs, and part of the reason is Blake Griffin, who we just talked about, right, and Andre Drummond, who we talked about, that didn't quite make the top 25 on either one of our top 25s. But, I mean, when you have 2 players that could be in the top 25, that would make you, playoff ready.
Sure.
I want to, before we finish this and then go to our closing comments, I just want to talk about the Anthony Davis, LeBron James matching, because LeBron James said it's going to be his team, Anthony Davis's team. He's going to defer to Anthony Davis. A, do you buy that? Is LeBron being genuine in that, sincere? And B, what do you think that combination could look like if it is successful?
Well, here's the thing. I buy it and I don't buy it. I buy it because LeBron is going to try to sell this to the media, and so that if there's any failure with the LA Lakers, it won't be on his shit.
Yeah. He's a media manipulator.
Right. So, but it should be that way. But we'll see.
We'll see. I think that if they don't worry about whose team it is and just play basketball, you can't find two more talented individuals that complement each other more than those two. And you could say the same thing about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But there's something about a big and a little, or a big and a not so big, you know what I'm saying? Right. And that playing together and playing off each other, what they can do to complement each other. I think that's going to make Anthony Davis pull out more and be able to do some of the things that he's able to do. And I think LeBron loves to pass. His biggest thing is not how many points he scores. His big thing is how much better he can make someone look, or how much easier he can make the game for him. And I think that's going to be a big factor in what the Lakers are going to be able to do if they're successful. Coaching is going to be the key there.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, let's get to our closing comments.
Well,
Rob?
My closing comments is going to center around the NBA scheduling. A couple of years ago, LeBron and other players complained about too many back-to-back. Listen, I'm a basketball fan first and foremost. I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm an NBA fan first. And even beyond NBA fan, I'm a sports fan. I have to be honest. I don't enjoy the NBA having media day in September. I don't enjoy the NBA having media day before Major League Baseball has started their playoffs. I think that the NBA is embarking into territory that is unfamiliar grounds. It's not giving these players enough time to heal their bodies over the summers, especially those who are committed to USA Basketball. I don't like this new format. I wish they go back to the old format where the game started either Halloween night or November 1st. But having media day in the last week of September and having practice start September 30th, October 1st, I think it's too soon for the NBA. And I think that they're not allowing their players to heal their bodies. That's my closing comment.
Well, I get your point, and I can't say that I disagree on most of your points. My closing comments is going to center around, if anyone, we started this show on YouTube, Facebook, and we started it on a audio podcast. And in the beginning of the show, I always talked about Durant being one of my favorite players in the NBA. And I was waiting for Kobe to retire so that I can then anoint him as my favorite player in the NBA, and I was going to be an OKC fan. Then he left OKC and went to Golden State. And then I didn't really like him as much anymore. But now, his continuous battles with people, with Twitter people, with people on Instagram, with sports writers, with anyone, and now with the Sam Presti and the Thunder, saying that the fans, when they called him Cupcake and all of that other stuff, you know, he'll never return to OKC again, and how he doesn't like the fans. I have one thing to say to Durant, and I don't agree when the conservatives said it, but I'm going to say it to you. Shut up and dribble. Stop dealing with all of these other things. If you want to open your mouth about something, open it about something that's relevant. And stop going at people and showing that you're soft or thin-skinned. Durant, you're one of the greatest ball players in the world. Act like it. Well, I want to tell you this. You can find us on Facebook. And we have the information right here. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. And you can find us, of course, on Comcast. And we're going to be here every Wednesday at 11:30 p.m. for 30 minutes, giving you our best. This portion, or this show, Deep Hoops, is brought to you by Systems Connection Group, where IT professionals make the connection nationwide. Here's the information so you can be a part of Systems Connection Group. I am the Minister.
And I'm Rob.
We'd like to thank you for being a part of Deep Hoops, and we will talk to you next week right here on Deep Hoops. Peace.